My pappy said, son, you're gonna drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln.
You're listening to 100.9 FM, 1450 AM Fun Oldies, and welcome to the fastest hour in radio, All About Cars, brought to you by ABC Motors Prescott with your host, David Don't Call Me Dave Spence, and Big Mike Hill.
You know something, Mike?
I do know
calling
something.
Yeah, not much. He keeps calling you Big Mike Hill. What are you going to do on this diet business if you lose a bunch of weight?
It's not a reference to my belly.
Mike is bigger than life.
Thank
It's a
you.
Give him
reference to his
credit.
knowledge.
That's right. See, thank you, Scott, for cleaning up our act
Yeah,
real
we can barely
quickly.
squeeze his head through the door at the station. I'm telling you right now, he's so full of information.
Wild Hussy show is going to be coming up. We can have that conversation later.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you're a legend in your own mind.
Well, I'm a legend somewhere.
He's the funniest guy he knows.
There you go, especially in the silent films. So we're talking about this high-pitched noise coming from the front end. Turn right, it gets worse. Turn left, goes away. Scott thought it might have been the brake feelers. Unfortunately, he didn't win the prize. Then Scott decided that he had another thought, which was the CV axles being exposed and worn, and that was a very good guess. It's not the right guess, but again, you get an E for effort.
Thank you.
Miss Trish, would you like to take a stab at diagnosing this?
I can't come up with anything better than power steering. Is it the power steering?
You mean when the power
Because
steering...
sometimes it goes.
How is that? That's awesome. Wait, one more time.
What does it
Perfect.
mean if a car goes?
It means you're driving David's Kissel.
Oh,
I've never heard it. I just imagine that's what it
It
sounds
kind of
like.
sounds like a steam engine to me.
and sometimes it'll go.
Oh, well, that means you've got wet shoes.
She's really good at the car sound.
Excellent. We're going to have Miss Trish here to explain to people, if you hear this sound, then you need to check your... See, it'll work out perfect.
It will.
One take Trish. You can't get any better for sound effects than one take Trish. So we've established it's not the brakes, it's not the CV axles, it is not the power steering, Miss Trish. Although you're absolutely right. When you do crank beyond the limits, the power steering will strain, and it will cause that grind in the pump noise. It's actually a dry pump, from what I understand. I've never really delved into the inside of the pump for that. But my understanding is it gets to the point where it can't actually pump anymore and makes that dry sound. Or you're overdrawing it and it'll actually slip the belt and cause the high-pitched squeal that we've all heard on the cold morning when we fire up. David, I have a feeling you know what it is. I'm going to let you take a guess, and then I'm going to tell you what Jason from ABC Service Center said it is.
I'm supposed to guess what it is?
Well, our educated guess, thought process,
Really?
really. Do you need the Jeopardy music? Miss Trish,
I
can you
was
play the
just
Jeopardy
wishing
song?
I had that.
I don't know why you think I know. That's pretty good. No, Mr. Mike, let's have you tell us what this actually
I love the way...
is.
Boom, boom.
I
Do
love
you
the
have
way-
your answer?
Well, I can think of some things, but I
love-
actually don't think that's what the problem
I love the
is.
way the two of them harmonized, though, for the music. That was
I would-
perfect.
That was good,
I would
wasn't
need
it?
another take on that.
One take, Trish. And Scott, 1.5 takes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, Jason from ABC Service Center says it is most likely the wheel bearing. And the reason you can indicate that is on the turning. When you crank one way, it goes away, taking the pressure off the wheel bearing. Turn it the other way, it increases pressure and causes it to be louder or more solid. So, if you sent that question into me or into us at All About Cars on Facebook, come on down to ABC Service Center, and Jason will actually take your vehicle apart and put it back together afterwards, but he'll take it apart and verify that that is indeed what it is. You've got a free diagnostic coming from ABC Service Center at 316 South Montezuma, co-located with ABC Motors Prescott.
Actually, that's a pretty good little prize there for asking a question. But realistically, yeah, you could be right. I'm glad you added that he was going to put it back together. I wasn't sure at first. That could be really fun. He'll take it apart for you.
The prize is a bag full of car parts. So on that note, though, if it's the wheel bearing, now is that something that can cause more damage if they've let this go too far? Are we looking at alignment, or maybe you just need another a balance or something like that?
Actually, much worse. The spindle, which is the part your wheel rides on, okay?
Right.
Your wheel bolts to the rotor or the hub. The hub rides on a bearing. The bearing rides on the spindle, which is attached to the car. In the event that you seize up that bearing, one of two things can happen. One is the bearing can keep spinning as it grinds through the spindle. The other is it can actually let loose, separate from the vehicle, and you can actually lose a wheel.
Do you want these people to believe that can happen?
Well, I want them to know it's a possibility.
You think it's a possibility?
It is.
Didn't that happen to you once?
Yes.
I'm
sitting over
he
here
has that
thinking,
look on his face.
this has actually happened to me.
It has.
Now, we are not going to name who provided the dump truck I was driving. But,
even in a heavy vehicle.
yeah,
Oh,
I was
man.
driving a dump truck, a loaded dump truck, provided by a local rental company. Notice we are not mentioning who the local rental company is.
That would be pre-dump.
Pre-dump, yes. So here I'm going down Robert Road. This is probably, what do you think?
Back in 98.
98, yeah, about 16 years ago.
Whereabouts on Robert Road?
Oh, I'm on Robert Road about, 2 blocks before you get, maybe it's 3 city blocks before you get to Robert's Marketplace.
Okay, so
And
you're on
I'm-
the backside.
Yes, I'm on the
Oh, that's
backside,
beau-
and I'm heading north.
That was before they decided to take Roberts Road and move it somewhere else.
straighten it out.
Affirmative. That's right. So it's the old version of Robert Road.
Okay, the twisted part there.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so I'd come from Judy Court. We were working on a construction site. I have the loaded dump truck, and I'm driving along, minding the speed limit because it is a dump truck. And I'm going to go over and dump on another site that's over by, not too far from Robert's Marketplace. And so I make a gentle turn onto the road, and all of a sudden, I see the wheel of the vehicle going off to the left because the left front wheel has decided to continue on while the vehicle goes into the ground. And for years, literally years, you could see like a 40-foot scrape in the tar where the front spindle of that dump truck scraped.
Was that a right-hand turn?
It was a left-hand turn.
I have 2 questions for you. One, were you wearing your seatbelt?
Affirmative.
Okay, well that answers the second one. The second one was, how did the windshield taste when the truck came to an immediate stop?
Luckily, it didn't happen to me. But I will tell you, I must admit, when it occurred, I did laugh uproariously because it was extremely funny to see this situation since I didn't get hurt or nobody got hurt. And this was before you really had a lot of people with cell phones, so I had to walk all the way back to Judy Court and say, guess what happened to me? Now, you know what was really the downside? The rental company didn't seem to think it was a big deal. Couldn't ever quite understand that. You might have killed me. No
Right.
big deal. It's not that big a deal. Guess what? They like to be paid for it. Obviously, I didn't.
There you go. The interesting thing about that is, and you may not realize this, Scott, but in the case that happens, it's not just the wheel comes off. The wheel comes off in that manner. It normally takes the hub with it. So when you hit the ground, spindles damaged, upper lower control arms damaged, steering knuckles damaged, tie rod ends. It's not, most people say, a rotor's only $39 and the bearing, so it's $100 in parts. No, you wind up with several $100s worth of damage, and
Right.
that's if nothing bad happened. That's on the luckiest of occasions.
Right. Because I've had, when I was racing last season, I had the lug nuts sheared off, and my tire went one direction as my car was going another. And like David, I can only imagine you were thinking, oh man, this ain't good. Because I saw my tire pass up my car. The tire was going fast. I was like, oh man, this just can't be good.
Can you imagine when it's a really cool wheel going by you, and you're like, hey, those are really neat
Those
wheels.
are nice wheels.
I actually watched that happen to a car on Willow Creek, and the corner of Willow Creek and Prescott Heights Drive, and the wheel came off, flew down all the way to the tire center of Walmart.
Wow.
Landed up against the side of a motorhome. Luckily, nobody was hurt, nobody was hit, no damage to the motorhome. And I simply looked at the guy. The guy said, "Why does this happen?" I said, "Your tire wanted to go home." I don't know.
Back to the orphanage.
Yeah, so they towed him away and never saw him again. He couldn't understand what that noise was. He said, "Well, they told me I had to replace my wheel bearings." Well, there you go.
So we have established from my story, your little question, that undeniably wheel bearings matter so much more than people think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, the safety devices, people are always, I don't have good tires, I don't have good brakes, my gas cap doesn't fit, my window won't roll up. That stuff is only on the surface. If you notice your wheels are wearing weird or your tires are wearing weird, but your car steers fine, might be a wheel bearing, might be a tire out of balance. It might be time to get tires. Get it somewhere that can get it checked. I would recommend taking it over to ABC Service Center. Let Jason look at it. But if you don't take it there, take it somewhere. If you have questions about how your car is driving, things are acting up, you have to get it looked at, because just thinking it's no big deal, it's going to be a big deal before you know it.
No, you should be able to grab both sides of your tire, and it might shake a little bit, right? If that wheel bearing's not good, are you going to be able to find out like that?
That is absolutely right. If you jack the vehicle up and take the weight off the wheel bearing,
Right.
you may grab it and feel excess play.
Ka-dunk, ka-dunk.
Yes, like that. But there is the possibility, that you don't have excess play and that you simply have a seizing bearing. In other words, unable to turn. And we know what happens when metal stops turning that's supposed to be turning.
Ouch.
Yeah, it flies away and David has to walk back to Judy Court.
Affirmative.
What does it sound like when David walks to Judy Court, Trish? What, no arm flap, no nothing? There
Oh, the penguin.
All right. We're going to get right back after these messages here on 100.9 FM, 1450 AM Fun Oldies with All About Cars.
Pulled out of San Pedro late one night, the moon and the stars was shining bright. We was driving up a great fine hill, passing cars like they was standing still.